Earlier this year, UAL's Social Purpose Lab and People and Culture Department partnered up with the Service Futures Lab at London College of Communication to ask the question of how the voice of our staff community at UAL can be really prominent and part of the way we make decisions across the university.
Over the last 9 months, our team worked together. In this project, we have engaged 50 colleagues across all different colleges, job families, and all grades. Our project is trying to understand and strengthen the relationship between staff voice and governance. The Making Connections project brought together service design, research, and organization change. What we're trying to understand is not an external audit, but a collaborative journey and trying to create meaningful change together with all the staff in UAL.
Service design gave us a powerful framework. Rather than coming in with predetermined solutions, we used a user-centered approach to deeply understand the system first, combining desk research, qualitative interviews, informal talks, and participatory observation. We positioned ourselves not as external consultants, but as internal researchers who deeply understand UAL's culture. This insider perspective, combined with rigorous ethical principles and processes, helped us to gain the trust of the staff.
Our discovery phase used multiple methods to build up a comprehensive picture of staff voice. We conducted 25 semi-structured interviews across all grades and job families from grade 2 to the executive board. We carefully designed these tools to surface both barriers and enablers to staff voice. We also held 20 focused stakeholder interviews with champions, with committee members, union representatives, and operational leads to understand how decisions and influence actually move through the system in practice.
We analyzed over 3,000 staff survey responses, looking beyond the numbers to understand what people were really saying about being heard, valued, and included in decision-making. We mapped out UAL's governance landscape, including formal structures such as the champion forums and committees, alongside informal mechanisms like the 3-in-3 program. We also conducted a literature review, analyzing best practices from other universities, healthcare, and corporate organizations, and see how they design and implement successful staff voice systems.
Our literature review grounded these findings in the wider research, which shows that authentic staff voice depends as much on trust and psychological safety as it does on structures. It reminded us that mechanisms only work when people feel genuinely heard.
Inclusivity wasn't accidental, it was designed in. We created multiple participation pathways, including in-person workshops, asynchronous online tools, drop-in sessions, and anonymous feedback channels. This meant that staff on precarious contracts, those working remotely, or having caring responsibilities could all contribute. We also worked in the open. We published regular updates through Canvas and newsletters, we presented findings at governance meetings, and we invited stakeholders into design decisions, not just at the end, but continuously throughout the project.
So we use a service design approach. It gives us specific tools for collaborations. We use mapping to synthesize interviews. Together, we have collected 21 insights across 5 different themes. We also create journey maps and showing how staff voice travels, move forward, and sometimes it got stuck within the UAL system. During the co-design process, we have applied design principles, giving staff the tools to be designers themselves. We use the how might we questions to reframe problems as opportunities. For example, we ask ourselves, how might we make committee remits crystal clear to everyone? And we also ask, how might we close the feedback loops within the system as well?
We then used research through design, creating quick prototypes that we could test and iterate. Visual decision-making frameworks, meeting templates, and engagement toolkits were each tested with real users, who gave us honest feedback about what would actually work in practice.
Through co-design workshops, staff created 12 concepts together, from network governance frameworks and consultation toolkits to recognition schemes and meeting protocols. These weren't our team's ideas imposed on UAL. They emerged from the collective expertise of UAL staff. Testing revealed what would land. Over 30 colleagues gave detailed feedback. Some of it enthusiastic, some of it skeptical. Regardless, all of it was really valuable. Staff told us honestly about their concerns over workload, digital fatigue, and what they needed to see in order for these ideas to actually work in practice.
This piece of research has brought us clarity. We now understand precisely where staff voice flows well and where it gets stuck. 5 themes emerged consistently: the need for clear committee remits, stronger feedback loops, visible leadership engagement, better recognition and ways to connect local action to institutional strategy. We also discovered something crucial about engagement. Our in-person testing session attracted more than 30 colleagues, most of whom heard about it that day through face-to-face conversations. Relational, human-centered approaches worked far better than formal announcements. People want to participate when the invitation feels genuine and accessible. We also learned that staff across all levels, from grade 2 to the executive board, identified the same opportunities for improvement. This tells us we found the real leverage points for systemic change, not individual preferences.
What excites me about this research is that it's fundamentally hopeful. It shows the enthusiasm for engagement, it shows we have the expertise, and it gives us a roadmap on how we can deliver. There was trust and partnerships built from grade 2 up to executive board level. It shows what we can achieve when we work in true partnership.
One thing we really want to come out of this work is some really tangible action, that the things the university can implement that are going to improve staff voice. And there are 4 ideas in particular we really want to pursue. One is about our committees and our governance groups, and being much more transparent about the way that they work, who's on them, how they operate, and how they interact with each other. Another one is about our leaders and the type of leadership that we are able to exhibit across UAL, and making sure that that really makes space for staff to be heard. Another piece that we're really interested in is the way that meetings run and operate at UAL. We really think there's an opportunity to think about that across the whole institution, to make sure meetings are truly inclusive and create the opportunity to bring multiple voices together. And finally, we want to make sure that the good work of all of our staff gets real recognition across the whole institution. So much good work that goes on out there, and we feel we could be doing so much more at a university level to amplify that and make it really recognized and appreciated by all across the university. One of the most exciting things about this piece of work is that we actually ran the project in a way that exemplifies the type of recommendations that we're hoping to make from it. So what that means in practice is that we really listened to people, we acted in a very inclusive way, we used participatory design methodology, and we co-created these solutions together. So they really have the staff voice in them as part of the action that we hope to take forward. And I think that really does exemplify the way of working that many of our staff want to see across UAL, and is something that we can definitely take forward as a lesson for the future.
The evidence is clear. What we need for true engagement, what builds well-being, productivity and retention, is contained in the ideas in this report. It gives us a roadmap to build engagement, make us a thriving university, and it's a partnership that we'll be working on together.
Reflecting on how we worked, we learned that delivering a values-led project inside a complex institution required us to design not just what we were researching, but how we were working. So we built structures and scaffolding first. Clear rhythms, shared templates, mapped stakeholders, and principles for ethical engagement. This gave us a holistic view of the system before jumping to solutions. We also learned that working in the open has limits. While transparency built trust, we had to balance visibility with psychological safety. Some colleagues needed to contribute anonymously or behind closed doors, especially when institutional trust was fragile. Navigating that tension became part of our practice.
We embedded reflection as a method, not just a wrap-up. We constantly asked, what are we learning about how we're working? We kept live documentation of decisions and moments of friction, and treated feedback as data that helped us course correct throughout the entire project.
The constant process of translating principles into decisions, decisions into practice, and practice back into reflection doesn't end with this project. We hope that this work sets a tone for how future staff voice work at UAL can continue with clarity, with care, and with shared ownership.
The Making Connections project demonstrates that organizational change through service design is not about imposing solutions. It is about creating the conditions where voices across the organizations can emerge, be heard, and also meeting and shaping meaningful change together.